Welcome my friends to Short Movie Channel. Our movie today begins in Argentina, where we follow the story of Mr. Fernando. We learn that Fernando is a painter and a martial arts trainer, but he struggles with significant financial and psychological issues. Because of this, he regularly visits a therapist. At the start of the day, after finishing his therapy session, Fernando heads to work at the training center, where he teaches young people martial arts. Once he's done and heading back home, he notices that it's raining heavily, almost unusually so. On his way, Fernando lights up a joint of marijuana, as he's addicted to it. While he's smoking, a car speeds past him, splashing water all over him and ruining his joint. Annoyed, Fernando throws it away, only to notice it drifting with the water until it disappears into a storm drain. Looking ahead, Fernando spots the Rio Bank, the largest bank in the country, and realizes that the bank's waste and water are discharged into the same drain. This discovery sparks an idea in Fernando's mind. He follows the flow of the water and finds that it leads to massive underground tunnels connected to the bank. At that moment, he decides he's going to rob the Rio Bank through these tunnels. But to pull off this plan, he needs help. The first thing he does is visit his friend, Sias, a skilled carpenter with engineering knowledge. Fernando asks him to join the plan, and Sias agrees, as he's also in desperate need of money. His job is to dig a hole in the tunnels that will lead them directly to the bank. Next, Fernando meets Duke, a well-known local criminal. He explains the idea to Duke, and invites him to join the plan. Duke agrees but suggests that they bring in a professional thief named Mario, who can provide valuable expertise for the mission. Fernando agrees and together, they go to meet Mario. We then see Mario working at a travel agency. He asks his manager to prepare travel documents for him and hands her an envelope full of money as payment. Even though she initially refuses to take the money until the documents are ready, he insists, and she eventually accepts. Later that evening, Mario visits a barbershop where his daughter, Lou, works. She gives him a haircut, and they chat briefly before he says goodbye and leaves. That night, Mario returns to the travel agency. He pulls out a device linked to an alarm system hidden in the envelope he gave to his manager earlier. Using this device, Mario scans the area and locates the safe. Calmly, he opens the safe, retrieves his money, and leaves without anyone suspecting a thing. Meanwhile, Fernando is following Mario, trying to catch up with him. Fernando sends Mario a voice message to arrange a meeting, but Mario notices that Fernando has been tailing him. Angry, Mario confronts Fernando, leading to a heated argument. The confrontation escalates, and things end on a tense note. Afterward, Mario heads back home and finds a message from Fernando, informing him that Doc asked him to join the team to work together on the plan. Mario feels upset because he had insulted Fernando before they even started, but despite that, he decides to meet Fernando the next day. Mario meets Fernando at a restaurant, where he begins to apologize for what happened the previous day. Fernando accepts his apology without any issue, and then takes Mario to the sewer tunnels, where he explains the plan to dig through the tunnels to reach the bank. The following day, Fernando, Mario, and Doc gather together, and Fernando explains a small problem they're facing. All the bank rooms are equipped with motion detectors, meaning any movement inside the bank will trigger the alarm. However, Fernando has a solution for this issue. The solution involves a special, strange-looking suit that prevents motion detectors from going off, allowing them to move safely inside the bank. Mario and Doc feel relieved after hearing about this solution, and then ask Fernando how they'll open the bank vault. Fernando explains that first, they need to find the exact location of the vault inside the bank before figuring out how to open it. To gather this information, Fernando and Sias visit the bank, pretending to be regular customers. While acting normal, they secretly study the bank and take pictures of every corner inside. Unfortunately, the security team notices Fernando taking pictures and takes him to the bank manager's office for questioning to find out why he's doing it. While in the office, Fernando cleverly identifies the vault's location without raising suspicion, then leaves the bank without any problems. Later, he sits with Sias, Doc, and Mario to explain the vault's location in detail and even pinpoints the spot in the tunnel where they'll dig to get close to the vault. With the plan in place, the team immediately moves to execution. The next day, the four of them head to the sewer tunnels and start digging their way toward the bank. That same night, Fernando, Mario, and Doc meet with a new team member who's joining the operation, a person who works as Mario's assistant. During their discussion, the team talks about how to open the main vault of the bank. At this point, Mario explains that more important than the main vault is figuring out how to open the client's deposit boxes. These boxes are small safes that every bank has for customers to store their valuables, like money, gold, and other items. Fernando comes up with an idea and tells Mario there's a solution to this issue. They can book a deposit box at any bank to figure out how the locks work. This way, they'll find an easy method to unlock these boxes, allowing them to steal the client's deposit boxes effortlessly. The entire team agrees with the idea, and they start preparing a detailed plan to carry out the heist successfully. The next day, Mario went to the bank and rented a private safe deposit box. He started studying its lock to understand how it worked. A few days later, the entire crew gathered at the sewer tunnels and continued digging until they reached the desired depth. As they neared the completion of the tunnel, they decided to finish the last section of digging on the day of the heist itself to ensure the plan's success. Up to this point, everything was going smoothly. However, tensions arose when Mario got into an argument with Fernando. The issue was that Fernando still didn't have a clear plan for breaking into the bank's vault. Mario threatened to cancel the entire operation if Fernando couldn't come up with a solution for accessing the vault. Reluctantly, Fernando agreed and left. Later, Fernando sat with his girlfriend and, as usual, started smoking weed. During this session, an ingenious idea struck him. He immediately left his girlfriend and headed to Mario's house to share his new plan. Fernando's idea was bold and unexpected. They would rob the bank in the morning when the vault would already be open. This way, they wouldn't need to break it open during the heist. The plan involved pretending to be regular bank clients, then taking everyone inside hostage. Mario was impressed with the idea and agreed to move forward with it. A few days later, the team gathered outside the bank. First, Sias went down into the sewer tunnels to finish digging the tunnel leading directly to the bank. Meanwhile, Mario, Doc, his assistant, and Fernando entered the bank casually, wearing masks. They quickly took control of everyone inside and forced the security guard to open both the customer deposit vault and the main bank vault. Mario then took the guard's phone and ordered him to leave the bank. The team disabled the bank's camera system, and shortly after, Sias arrived at the scene through the tunnel they had dug. Sias and Fernando began opening the client's deposit boxes using a high-tech device invented by Sias, which could unlock safes at incredible speed. While Fernando and Sias were busy stealing from the boxes, Mario and Doc kept everyone in the bank under control. Outside the bank, the army and police forces had arrived, led by Police Chief Miguel. Miguel began negotiating with Mario to resolve the situation peacefully. Mario, however, used the negotiations to stall for time, allowing his team to complete their work. He demanded that the city's deputy come to negotiate with him, and Miguel reluctantly agreed. When the deputy arrived, Mario began insulting and yelling at him, claiming he didn't want to talk to him. Instead, Mario demanded that his lawyer come to negotiate. At this point, Miguel was visibly frustrated and asked Mario for the lawyer's number. Mario gave him his own phone number and pretended to be the lawyer when Miguel called. Mario kept Miguel occupied with meaningless conversations, stalling for as much time as possible while his team continued to empty the vault. The brilliance of the plan lay in Mario's ability to manipulate the negotiations and keep the police distracted. With the heist nearing completion, their escape route through the tunnel was ready. It was clear that Miguel was pushed to his limits, and it was hard not to feel sorry for him as Mario's constant deception had undoubtedly driven him to the edge. We move on to Fernando and Sias, who encounter a problem they hadn't anticipated. The issue, in short, is that the device Sias built keeps overheating, making it impossible for him to continue opening the boxes. As a result, they have to take breaks to cool the device before they can proceed. This process goes on for quite a while until they finally manage to open all the boxes and steal everything inside. In general, they successfully steal all the money in the bank. Next, they start packing the stolen money into bags. After that, they begin lowering the gold and money through the hole into the sewer tunnels. Fernando leaves all the weapons they brought in a specific place for the police to find. To clarify, Fernando doesn't leave the weapons there without reason. It's actually a very clever move. Those weapons, my friend, aren't even real. They're fake. Fernando deliberately left them behind so that if they were ever caught, they'd face lighter sentences since they hadn't used real weapons. Once they've finished everything in the bank, they descend through the hole into the sewer. Fernando closes the hole with his desk to make it harder for the police to find. Meanwhile, Fernando and his crew bring along small boats. They load the money onto one boat, while the other boat carries the crew, and they start moving through the sewer water. As for Miguel and the police, they storm the bank but don't find anyone. They search every corner of the bank for a while before they finally discover the hole. They immediately climb down into the sewer to look for Fernando and his crew, but they don't find them. By then, Fernando's gang has already blocked their trail with an iron barricade so that the police can't follow them. Fernando and his crew continue moving through the sewer water until they reach a specific manhole. This manhole leads to the street, where a driver, hired by Mario, is waiting for them. The driver opens a hidden compartment in the car, and everyone climbs in, bringing the gold and money with them. Just like that, the mission is complete, and everyone celebrates. They quickly escape the area and head to their hideout, where they distribute the money and gold among themselves. After splitting the loot, each person goes their separate way, returning to their lives. But we're not focusing on everyone here, just on Mario's assistant. Mario's assistant, after getting his hands on the money, buys a car, meets a woman, and starts an affair. However, his wife catches him with the woman, leading to a huge fight. But his wife doesn't stop at just arguing, she does something even crazier. She goes straight to the police and reports her husband, telling them he was part of a gang that robbed the Rio bank. The police waste no time and immediately arrest Mario's assistant. They search his house and find some of the stolen money. From there, the dominoes fall one by one, every member of the gang gets caught, whether it's Sias, the driver, or even Mario himself. Mario is arrested while sitting with a woman, and what hurts him the most is that his daughter finds out about everything. When she visits him in prison, Mario apologizes to her, not just for robbing the bank, but for leading a wrong life and being distant from her for so long. Moving away from Mario's sorrows, we see that Fernando, after taking his share of the money, retreats to the mountains for a spiritual journey to calm his nerves. But he doesn't get much peace because the police eventually track him down and arrest him. With Fernando's capture, the entire gang is taken down, except for Document. He's the only one who wasn't caught. As for Fernando, he spends around a year and 7 months in prison before being released. And here's the thing, Fernando and the gang didn't get heavy sentences because, as I mentioned earlier, they used fake weapons, not real ones. Once Fernando gets out of prison, he finds Mario waiting for him. This is the last time the two meet, as Mario tells Fernando he's moving to Uruguay and won't return to Argentina. Fernando is deeply saddened as he says goodbye to Mario, and they never see each other again. At this point, the movie comes to an end, but here's something important you should know. This entire story is based on true events that happened in Argentina. The robbery was so brilliant that it was later dubbed the heist of the century. It even inspired several movies and series. We also learn that everyone who was arrested received sentences ranging from 7 to 15 years, but their sentences were later reduced because of the fake weapons. Today, the entire gang is free and living their lives. For example, Sias went back to running his workshop, while Fernando resumed his career as a painter, which was his original profession. Mario, on the other hand, is living in Uruguay with lots of money and gold from the heist. He's living off the fortune because not all the stolen goods were recovered, only a small portion was returned. The rest was smuggled away by the gang. As for Doc, as I mentioned earlier, He was never caught, and no one knows his real identity. People speculate that he might have passed away, but nothing has been confirmed to this day. And that, my friend, wraps up the story of today's movie. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe to the channel.